Hello and welcome back to the Paper Soprano podcast. My name is Heidi and I am your host, and today we're going to be having a chat. If you're new here, welcome, hello. If you're returning, welcome, hello. And I don't really have any particular things to chat with you about today, although I am turning around in my chair and I'm looking at my bookshelf from I guess you could call my youth. I don't know. I didn't have all of these books when I was a kid. But maybe we'll go through and do a bookshelf tour. What's on my bookshelf? But not like what's on my bookshelf, what's on like my abandoned childhood bookshelf. So yeah, let's do that. I hope you guys are having a good Sunday, particularly if you've listened to the podcast before. I might have said this. I hate Sundays. Sundays are my least favorite day of the week. They are literally the worst, and no one can convince me otherwise, so try me. But yeah, so okay, let's chat about this bookshelf here. The first thing on my bookshelf that I see, on top shelf, all the way on the left, is Catch-22, which is a classic. If you've read Catch-22, good for you, because I remember it being very dry when I read it. And then next to it is another one that I feel like I felt good about getting through, which is Kurt Vonnegut's Breakfast of Champions. Good book, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed it. But the writing style was a little bit mature for me. I feel like I read that when I was like 15 or something. So I liked it, definitely liked it. What? The next one I don't really recognize. Somebody might have oh, I know what this is from. Somebody got me this book because it has like a musical title to it. The title is called Bel Canto, which I'm not trying to judge this book right now. I have not explored this book. I do not know what the deal is with the book, so we're gonna just move that one's by Anne Patchett, and we're just gonna let that one sit there, because until I actually read it, I am not going to judge it. But it kind of looks like a romance novel, not gonna lie. So the next one is a really old looking book, like really old looking, like crispy font, blue, kind of distressed looking book that is titled Heidi Grows Up. And this one has an interesting little backstory to it. Have you ever heard of the books, the Heidi books? Like, I guess there's only one really, but I guess it's by Joanna Spry. I can't remember her name. I can't see very far away. I don't know if this one's exactly by that same author, but yeah, the Heidi books are like this Swiss novel thing. I don't know, like a folktale kind of deal. And it's about like this young girl who goes to, I guess, her grandfather's house or her uncle's house or something, and she's very disturbed by how much of a recluse he is, and it's all very inspirational because then she like teaches her friend how to walk or something, and she makes the old man like open up at the end of the story. Spoiler alert, sorry. But if you're ever wanting to read Heidi, I have like 100 copies of those books. Not 100, I'm exaggerating by a lot, but everybody when I was younger like gifted me copies of that book because they were like, oh look, it says your name on it. Look, it's you. So that was fun, but I definitely have read that story many times and in many different formats. It's a good one. And then the next one is a used American Century Dictionary. Gotta love it. And the one after that is Wicked, which honestly, I don't think I've read all the way through. I definitely just spit on the microphone right now, ew. But I don't think I've read Wicked all the way through. I think I can see that it's only folded, like the spine is only broken about 3/4 of the way through the book. I remember it being very thick, very, very much descriptive, kind of like, I mean, I'm not comparing it to Lord of the Rings, but that format of which, things are not very dialogue driven. It's very much descriptions and vast like pages and pages of a descriptor of, like a candle burning in a windowsill or something like that, which is, fine. I think I was probably a little too young to enjoy that, so maybe I should give it another try, because I do like the musical Wicked. I was very into it when I was in high school, in like early high school. So yeah, but moving right along, the next one I can see is actually my diary, which big LOL on that one. It's like a leather bound book with like little straps. You know the thing. You know the diary that I'm talking about. And oh god, kind of similar to this. I feel like I was so, like, similar to this podcast, I mean. I was so dedicated to just documenting my life and documenting my, every day. I felt like that was such a, like, I guess romantic thing to do. Like, I really liked the idea of writing everything down and expressing myself in my diary, and it had like these golden ribbed pages, and it was just really nice. And yeah, the one after that is another journal. I wouldn't call that my diary, but I would call that one a journal, because I want to say I wrote in that in undergrad, and I think maybe somebody from when I worked as a camp counselor, one of my friends got me that. Journaling is such a specific thing, and I feel like journaling comes back to me over the years. Like, it is what it is. Sometimes I'm really into it, sometimes I'm not. So, writing, I think here's what it is. Don't get me wrong, if you're big into journaling, trust me, so am I really like it. But like, I think sometimes my brain is just too fast for my hand to keep up. And like, I cannot write fast enough, and it gets me so anxious and frustrated. And then I'm like looking at my terrible, like, scratchy handwriting, and I can't, like, write exactly what I'm feeling or exactly what I'm saying, in writing, because the thoughts are fleeting and I want to get all of them out. And it is a good way to like really prioritize your thoughts, I guess. Like, if you're looking to calm down, or you're looking to like mull things over in a really slow way, then writing is good. But like, I'd say 99% of the time I'm just looking to get things out, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to like finesse up in here. Like, I've just got a lot of things that need to come out, if that makes any sense. But I'm not all the time into journaling. Sometimes if I'm feeling particularly inspired to journal, I will write things down, obviously, but like, not all the time. I don't know. Does anybody else feel that way? Sometimes journaling is just a little contrived for me, but it depends. It really depends. Oh, and next on the bookshelf is one of my faves, honestly. It is a copy of Julius Caesar, obviously Shakespeare, and I remember reading Julius Caesar in high school and just being so taken by it. I loved the whole style, the whole plot. Like, it was so much better for me than Romeo and Juliet. Like, ugh, God, I hated Romeo and Juliet so much. It was so predictable and like frustrating, because I was like, this is silly. Like, I didn't understand the the irony. I didn't understand like how that would make a story interesting. I was just like, this is dumb. Like, there's no drama. It's all just like he didn't know, and then she did something and she didn't know either, and like, oh no, like now they're both dead, darn it. Ugh. So but the whole thing was frustrating to me as a teenager, but Julius Caesar was not as frustrating, and I actually really liked it. And it was so exciting. I don't know, it was intense. And I can't necessarily even recall any like exact details, but like of course there's the quotes that everybody knows, like A to Brute, and like all of the specific numbers with the stabbings and the iambic pentameter and all of those really interesting literary devices. I think, oh my god, I'm trying to remember. There was one specific iambic pentameter that we dissected. It's something like the the golden feather plucked from Caesar's wing will make him fly an ordinary pitch. Something like that, like da 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 ba da ba da ba da ba. You know what I mean? That's probably not the right quote, but that's just what I'm remembering. If you are, very very Shakespeare-esque, feel free to let me know and correct me. But that's just off the top of my head. I'm remembering those moments with my beloved English and drama teacher, Mark Ruffino. He was great. And the next book, oh my god, next book on the shelf, a classic, just a classic, 1984, George Orwell. We love it. You love to see it. Couldn't tell you how much I this is just a perception shaper of your early teen years. You're reading this in high school and you're like, oh my god, crazy. And you get kind of like grossed out by how it's so like similar to things that are happening in your life currently, and it's like, ew, oh my god. And the whole thing with like Big Brother and everything, like, yeah, oof. It's some heavy stuff. And if you haven't read 1984, I know some schools, it's all different, whatever high schools read, but I really you just need to read it. Like, girl, you just do, okay? Like, it's just one of those that you need to read. And the next one that's on my shelf is Pride and Prejudice. And I have not brought myself to read it yet, okay? Don't get upset with me. I have not seen the movie. I have not, I have no experience with Pride and Prejudice other than I know the name and I know the title, like, everybody kind of does. But, maybe someday when I'm feeling more patient, I will read Pride and Prejudice. If you have a very strong case for me that I should read Pride and Prejudice, feel free to let me know. I love a good challenge, but for me right now, it doesn't interest me. The next couple of books, they're, I think, a series, if I remember correctly, are the if I'm seeing this, I'm sitting like 4 or 5 feet away from this, so I can't exactly read the author names, but I think it's Lev Grossman's The Magicians series. I know that was at one point a TV show. A couple years ago, they made it into a TV show, or maybe it was a TV, and I think it was probably a book first, let's be real. But I really liked those. They're like science fiction-y kind of romance a little bit, but not really, more just like action science fiction-y. I think the reason why I found them was because when I was younger, I finished obviously Harry Potter. We all read it, but I finished it relatively early in my childhood, like probably finished it before I was 13 or 12. Maybe a little bit later. Or when did they even come out? I just remember finishing them very early and being like, okay, now what am I going to read? So I remember looking up or asking some kind of librarians or people in my high school years, like, what's something similar that, has magic in it? Like, I want a magic book. So I probably just saw the title and was like, oh, I'll read these. And honestly, they were good. So it was a good a good judge a book by its cover because I actually did like the content. So whether that tells you more about me or the title of the book, there you go. I don't know what to tell you there. The next one is another good one you really should read if you haven't, or if you weren't forced to read it in your scholastic endeavors. It's The Giver. Obviously, The Giver is a classic as well. One of those that kind of like if you were reading it and you were one of those people who in high school didn't really read, you just kind of like sort of read every couple of, assignments, and you didn't really go through it. It would be kind of confusing, I think. It's one of those where it's like it's a little bit heady, you've got to interpret a lot. It's not, you know what I mean? You know. So, but excellent book. I really should reread it because I almost kind of have no real, I guess, hard memories from it. Like, I can't exactly tell you what happened. I feel like I have obviously I'm picturing like an old man and like a guy and a girl maybe, and I'm also seeing like an apple at one point, but maybe that's wrong. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm thinking of The Giving Tree. Another classic book, but not on the shelf that I'm looking at. Okay, so the next one, I think it's a real skinny one. I think it's just the play. I think it's probably Midsummer, Shakespeare. Great play. Love it. Love me a good Shakespeare. I really wish we could see some. I'm sure if I reached out to some of my acting friends, I could find some recordings of things, or find some old recordings of Shakespeare in the Park. Here in Delaware Park in Buffalo, they do Shakespeare in the summers. So I'm sure they've done Midsummer Night's Dream multiple times. So maybe I'll rewatch that or reread it. The next one, a little bit triggering, gotta say. It is, I think it was like a history textbook that I had to read over the summer. Like, we were assigned like the entire book. And this is a thickie. Like, it's really not like nothing to scoff at. I think it was for AP European History. We had to read A World Lit Only by Fire, William Manchester. And honestly, I do remember liking it. Like, I didn't mind it, but there were definitely some dry points where I was like, oof. But I remember it kind of being a nicely phrased and nicely, like the pacing of it was good. Because, like, how easily can you pace out, like, European history? There's a lot, obviously, duh. Like, so that was, if you're looking for, like, European history kind of drama, not drama, but, like, the drama that happened. They didn't like, glorify it or anything in the book, but I remember it being not too terrible. The next one is on the next shelf, so that was all the top shelf. The next shelf is Hamlet. I have not read Hamlet, and I don't know if that was just because of the certain Englishes that I was in, the English classes that I took, but I have it, and I should read it. Have you read Hamlet? Like, I feel like it's, you either, like, you read some Shakespeare's and you don't read other ones in high school, and that might just be the ones that you like, and then you just aren't exposed to the other ones. So if you read Hamlet and you really liked it, let me know. Maybe I'll also read it. The next one is another wicked book. Oh no, actually it's an autobiography. It's Kristen Chenoweth's autobiography. I think she wrote this obviously after she was in Wicked, but yeah, so she actually signed that copy. I think she was in Buffalo for something, but I remember getting that as a gift, and Kristen Chenoweth signed that copy, but I haven't really read it that much. I probably read like the first couple chapters, but I wasn't really that into autobiographies at the time. You know what I mean? Like, come on, where's the magic? Now I don't feel that way, of course, but, you know, here we are. So the next couple books, oh my god. If you grew up with American Girl dolls as a child, they had like these books that they would come with, because like every American Girl doll had like a story. Like, Molly was World War I era, or maybe World War II, I can't remember. It was a very long time ago. Or like Felicity had her own story, and Samantha, and all of the classic um, American Girls had their own stories. So there's a couple. I think there's 3 of them all in a row, like Molly's birthday, Molly's this, Molly's that. Oh, love it. I'm gonna cry. I literally lived for my American Girl doll. Like, she was my absolute pride and joy. And then next, I think, is another copy of Hamlet. What the heck? Why do I have 2 Hamlets on here? I've literally never even read them. And the next one is, a little bit stressful. It is World War Z, which I guess is, if I'm remembering correctly, it was like a zombie apocalypse kind of zombie apocalypse book and novel. And yeah, she was intense. If you've ever read World War Z, like, I probably wouldn't recommend reading it now, because it's very similar, like, kind of like pandemic-y in the beginning, and scary and very intense at points. I remember liking it a lot, but being very spooked at certain points. But overall, I highly recommend World War Z if you like dystopian kind of apocalypse movies. There you go. I keep saying movie. I see it in my brain as a movie. Books. The next one is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I'm pretty positive I read it, but I feel like if I read it, I would have strong feelings about it. Do you have books on your shelf like this? Like, am I the only one who's like, did I read that? I can't remember. I think I didn't, because I feel like maybe I read like some girl on a train book. Trains? I don't know, because I don't think I read Dragon Tattoo Girl. Well, anyway, if you have strong feelings about that one, I'm sure a lot of people do. I remember it being very popular, so maybe I'll grab that one to take back with me to the Long Island. But the next ones are another series, which I really, really liked, and I think I've read them twice, all 4 of them, are the Maze Runner books. I was super enthralled by them. I loved a good series, you know what I mean? I loved a series. I loved a science fiction series. Just very much into that, very much into, kind of quickly progressing, action-y, kind of lots of dialogue, characters that are easy to attach yourself to, those kinds of books. I was a teenager or whatever. I loved them, and I remember definitely reading them more than once. It might have been 3 times, but at least twice. And yeah, the Maze Runner series, there's the Maze Runner, Scorch Trials, the Death Cure, and the Kill Order. Not sure if those are the orders that they actually go in, but there are 4 of them. Really good. Oh my god, the next one I see is, I think it's Juliet Dove, Queen of Love. And oh my god, do you remember the Scholastic Book Fair? Did you have that at your school? Because girl, oh my god, I did. And I think I got that at like my very first Scholastic Book Fair. And I just really liked the cover. I liked the title. And it was a good book. I think it was about some young girl, like, interacting with either Cupid or some other, like, god of love kind of thing, and, getting people to fall in love with her or something. I don't know. It was like a funny premise, and it was an easy read. I remember really liking it, and I guess I have still kept it until now. The next one is called Red Scarf Girl, and this one was really interesting. I remember it was about, I want to say, this was a very long time that I read this ago, but I want to say it was about Japanese internment camps. And I remember being very moved by this book. And I'll have to look it up, or maybe I'll just run over there and fan through the book a little bit after this. But it might have not been about internment camps, but it might have been about uh, something similar to that, and having to wear a red scarf as some kind of, um, you know, symbol of being Japanese or something like that. I think it's set in maybe the 50s or the 60s. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, so don't quote me on that. But if you're interested in, or it's really, I think, aimed at younger readers. So if you have a younger person in your life who you think would be interested in some kind of book like this, I remember really liking it. So Red Scarf Girl, I can't see the title or the author's name, but I think it starts with a J. My eyes are really bad, so. Okay, and then the next one, oh, classic, is Number the Stars. I definitely recommend this book if you have not read Number the Stars. It's interesting that those two books, Red Scarf Girl and Number the Stars, are next to each other, but yeah, I don't want to give any information away about Number the Stars if you have not read it. Just, yeah, I remember, like, there's probably, like, many tear stains on that book. Like, a lot. Okay, moving right along here. Of course, the next book is taking us on a major left turn here. What do we got? Harry Potter. I think that is the Sorcerer's Stone there. It's not a hardcover. It is a very old, tattered book, but yeah, what a classic. What a classic, you know? The next one is entitled The Wave, and I think I had to read that for either participation in government class or maybe it was AP US history. But I think it was kind of about this experiment that happened within a school. I can't remember if it's true or if it's just fictionalized, but it was about this experiment that happened in a school, and it was similar to like a Nazi regime. Like the teacher in the school was trying to teach all the kids a lesson about how, you know, easily influenceable the Nazis were because of the way that they were brought into that. You know, the way that the whole thing started happening with like nationalism and being part of a group and excluding others and scapegoating others and those kinds of things. So it was a really interesting book, and I remember liking it. But moving right along, there's a thin one that I definitely can't read, and then there's a anthology of choral music. The next one is called The Secret Garden, and I have definitely not read that. There are just some things on the shelf that I have not read, and you know what? That's okay, because there's stuff everywhere that I haven't read. And especially like when people give me books as gifts, sometimes it takes me a long time to read them, and by a long time, sometimes I mean a couple of years or indefinitely. I don't know. But yeah, so that looks interesting. I don't know. I try not to judge books by their covers, but looks like something I would like. You know, I think I remember trying to start it and I couldn't really get it off the ground. But regardless, we're moving right along. The next one is, I have mixed feelings about this book. I really did like the content. It is, I think it's by Miguel Ruiz. It's The Four Agreements. And I know this book is like highly, highly regarded by a lot of people, and I love the content. Trust me, like I absolutely love the content. But it was given to me by someone who I have a very complicated past with. And every time I see that book, I think of them, and it's very difficult for me to like detach emotions from items. You know what I mean? Especially books, because I have a very visual memory as a person. I'm very much driven by like visuals. So if I see something, or if I see a cover, or if I see a book and I can recall visuals that were prompted by the book itself, and I saw visuals while I was reading it, similar to a movie, which is why I guess I keep saying movie instead of book. But if I have attachments like that to an item or a book, it is very difficult for me to separate, um, a person or whatever. It's it's just very complicated, and I'm pretty positive that on the inside cover of that is written, somebody, the person who gave this to me wrote in the book itself and wrote a message, and it is very difficult for me to read things like that, and it just makes me like not cringe, because it is what it is. But sometimes it's difficult to relive things like that, and you open a book and you're not expecting it, and then all of a sudden you see this message from somebody from like 5 years ago, and you're like, oh, you know and they gave you this book in a difficult time in your life personally, and it brings back all of those difficult memories with yourself, and whether or not your relationship with them or your friendship with them ended poorly. It triggers, oh my god, so many different memories, and here I am spiraling about this one book that I actually really did like. I read the whole thing cover to cover, and I think it might be a translation. I'm not sure, but I remember some of the syntax of the book itself being a little bit difficult at times, being like, what do they mean by this? Like, this is a very strange way to word this, but it is what it is. If it's a translation, I totally get it. But moving right along from the Four Agreements, the next books that are piled in these, and these were all hardcovers, are 4 of the preceding Harry Potter books. Nice, thick boys all laying there. And I believe one of them is The Cursed Child, which came out like after all of the movies and everything had finished, and I remember going to Barnes & Noble and getting it like the day it was released and being really excited, and I read it all in that one day. It was great. Those are just the kinds of things that I miss about the Harry Potter books. Like, yes, I get it. J.K. Rowling is like problematic, and trust me, girl, I know. I've read up all the things, and there's problematic things that are riddled within the books themselves. But like, for me, my experiences with them during that time is wrapped in nostalgia, and I can separate the nostalgic feelings from the things that I disagree with now that are kind of ensnaring these books, I guess. But in general, I have positive feelings about Harry Potter, and ain't nobody gonna tell me otherwise, because I loved them. And another hardcover that I have next to those Harry Potters is this book that I got from my first voice teacher. And if you are a performer, or if you like perform like physically, like if you are like a athlete or anything like that, it's a book that I highly recommend. Oh my god. It's called Choke. And it's about performance anxiety and why. I think the whole premise is like, I think it's similar to the experience that people have when they're golfing. Like, why you can practice, strokes and tons of different swings and styles, and you can get, hole-in-ones on the green all the time and be super excellent at playing golf or doing whatever you need to do, and then all of a sudden you get to the tournament and you choke, literally, like you can't do it, and like why that happens, and like what makes people flop, like what happens to your brain. And that was really interesting to me, and I think my teacher didn't give this to me like as like a dig. Now that I'm talking about it, like it kind of seems like, oh my god, like why did he give that to you? But like but it was always in really good spirits. Like he was very supportive, and he understood that these are things that people deal with. So I totally totally loved that book. And if you are interested in why people choke, or why you might choke, or why you might have like performance anxiety or things like that, check that book out. It's very good. And I think that's all I'm gonna do, because the next couple shelves are like CDs and like music books and photo albums and things like that. So I think that's a good one to leave off on. But oh, yeah, you guys, there's a couple of things on here I'm reminded now. I might have to take a couple of these books back with me because I'm reminded by one how many of these books I would like to reread because I am super not remembering what the heck they're about. Like, what the heck? Why can't I remember, like, what 80% of these books are? I definitely read them at one point. But, yeah, and some of them are on, literally, I just haven't read at all. And, yeah, love me a good book. One of my friends actually just got me a book for Christmas, and I am very excited to read it. I started reading, I think I'm only on a couple pages in, but reading to me has always been a very unique experience, and I get frustrated with myself these days because of how anxious it makes me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, am I just losing patience? Like, why can't I sit down and do it? Like, I remember when I was a kid, I would have to stand up after hours and like stretch my legs and turn the light on because it had gotten dark, and like I would wake up in the morning and like immediately reach for my book and just start reading and lay in my book for like a couple hours because I woke up early or something just to read. Or I remember getting in trouble reading at like family parties or something because it was like rude to read when you're like supposed to interact with other people, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm in a really good part of my book right now and I'm not going to be able to like figure it out unless I read it. So like the one thing I wish I could change about myself is I cannot read in a moving vehicle, which is so frustrating. Oh my god, I cannot read in the car. I got really car sick. I still get really car sick. Like, I got car sick as a kid. I can't read in the car. I cannot read on a plane. I cannot read on a train. I cannot read in a boat. Like, I just can't. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I have to be looking very far away for my body to not immediately get car sick. You know what I mean? Or motion sick. So, oh god. But you know, it's the whole trope, the common trope right now that's like, you can't look away from your phones, and oh my god, your phones are becoming like, taking over, like, phone bad book good. Like, oh man, why can't we just like start reading books again, blah blah blah. Like, oh my god. But I think there's really more to that. It's not just all about phones are bad. Like, people have different mentalities now, and like our attention spans are changing, and it is totally because of our phones and stuff, but it's also because I'm just convinced that people are like, especially this year in 2020, people are like trying really hard to face their demons and like deal with their trauma and stuff and like heal your friggin' nervous system, you know what I mean? So that, when we were all kids and we were able to read for hours and hours and hours, and it was we didn't have jobs, we didn't have bills to pay, we didn't have complex relationships with other people, we didn't have ex-boyfriends and social media and all of these things, and it was very much easier for people to like just not people for children to children are people, don't get me wrong, but like, small children who are uncommitted to things to dive into a book. And for me personally, I think it was easier. I was not really trying to face any of my fears or face any of my problems. I was just able to dive into a book and be okay with the fact that I wasn't going to come up for air for like 2 or 3 hours, at a time. And yeah, it is weird. It's a weird thing. If you were into reading in the past and now you would still consider yourself into reading as an adult, a young adult, but you just haven't read any books in a long time, don't give up on that. Like, do still try and get yourself to read even if it's just a little bit, every day, because habits are very powerful, and I think healing ourselves really comes in like these like micro moments, these little decisions that we can make. And if you fill your day with these small decisions, that even though in those moments it's like, oh god, I just don't want to do this, like I just want to relax, I feel like I just want to like sit here and not have to deal with anything, I don't want to get stressed out, I don't want to, like, you're protecting yourself in a way, mentally and emotionally, you're protecting yourself. So you just want to be like pacified by your phone or by funny videos or Netflix or whatever it is that we use as a coping mechanism, which is fine. If you're going through something, then allow yourself to have those moments of self-comfort. But then I think for me personally, something that I am trying to do right now is trying to allow myself those moments, because I know that they're important and I shouldn't be forcing myself to do things that I'm not ready to do. But in other moments, I want to accomplish, things that I want to have in my daily life, like reading again. I'm gonna be starting, reading in my daily life again. I don't know how else to phrase it, but I also want to start reintroducing martial arts into my life, because that's a huge part of my identity, and I think that that's a huge thing that has been lacking in my life, and it has been affecting me over these years. And of course, practicing, music is it is who I am, and that's something that I'm gonna for sure have in my daily life, but like more of it, and playing music for fun, not just playing it for my job, or practicing for my church job, or practicing it for my degree program and a piece that I have to learn because I have to perform it or I have to record it or something, and the same thing for reading too. Like I like reading for my classes and things like that. Like reading academic work is its own special type of reading. Sometimes I can't get through it, sometimes it's literally just too dry, but like I want to be able to read for fun, and yeah, I don't know, I guess I'm just kind of just talking about my desires and my attempts at healing myself, and really just doing what I want in my life, like actually doing what I want, and not being controlled by constant, self-comforting instead of actual like active self-healing. And you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe this is a little bit too far, but that's why it's at the end. Everything's fine. No one's even listening anymore, so it's totally fine. Okay, you guys, I think I'm gonna cut it off now here. But if you want to talk about books, or you are interested in continuing this conversation, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always ready to have a chat, girl. You know me. So thank you so much for listening. And if you like this podcast and you want to support it in some way, just go ahead and leave a like, or leave a comment. Tell me about some books that you like, or what's on your shelf. Like, I would love to know, because I'm always very nosy as a person, but like I also want to know what you're reading, and what inspires people, because who knows, it might inspire more people if it inspires you. And yeah, subscribe to the channel, you guys. If you wanna be here all the time, I post every day, you guys, so you can always be here and be ready for a low-key chat, something that's gonna either be in the background of while you're doing something else, or you can actively listen to it. I don't care. I'm just here to have a good conversation with myself, So subscribe to the channel if you want to be alerted to when I post every day. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your terrible Sunday, because I hate Sundays. And we've all got those Sunday scaries, but maybe not this week, because this week is like that in-between week between Christmas and New Year's, so doesn't even really matter or mean anything. So I guess today is just a nondescript day. We'll just call it that instead of Sunday. So I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night whenever you are listening to this. And thank you so much for being here. Thanks for listening. And yeah, love you, mean it, you guys. Talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.